And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Identity 5 NAEU Summer Tournament. We're currently on our second weekend, but things are getting all the more intense as the best of the best compete right here on a great platform. Of course, we are going to be your casters for this weekend. Once again, I am Articuno.
And I'm Sayara.
Man, what an interesting week. This week for me just flew by. I mean, these
Yeah.
past weekdays I've been thinking I just really want to get into this already. And finally, we are here and we are going to be getting some more Identity 5 action and see some of the top teams from both America
Merrick.
and North America and Europe compete on this platform that we have right here.
Yes.
Mhm.
And of course, before anything else, let's check out our tournament format. And of course, you already guys know from week one, it's going to be a best of ones. And with that being said, there's not going to be any bans here. But even though there's not going to be bans for the sides of the team, they can still have the chance to be both hunters and survivors.
Yes, as that is the format, of course, for competitive Identity 5. And take note that leading up before the quarterfinals, everyone is playing a best of one, as you
Yes.
mentioned, which is why we aren't going to be seeing any bans whatsoever. It only kicks in towards the quarterfinals once we see those best of threes, which is and basically per round that we see after both sides play Survivor and Hunter come into that next phase.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we see a single ban, and then should it proceed to the fifth and sixth round, then that's
Yeah.
where we see two bans come out. And
Yes.
as per our point system, so especially for those that are new to competitive Identity 5, by our point system, let's say if you are the hunter, for each survivor that you land, you will be getting a point. However, should you manage to take out all four survivors instead of the usual 4 points, an extra incentive of 1 point is given to round it up to a total of 5 points. Flip side as well goes for the survivors, wherein if all four survivors escapes, the team on the survivor side will get 5 points, but of course it pretty much counts down 5, 3, 2, 1, and if no survivors make it out alive, 0. Or same for the hunter, if he doesn't hunt down anybody, then 0 points as well. So let's go ahead and check out how the drafting phase went between Breadbank and QW.
And as you can see, guys, Bread Bank will be the first one to become the hunter here. It's going to be the Ripper. And for the side of QW, they will be using the Priestess, the Perfumer, the Seer, and the Coordinator.
Oh my goodness. So with what we have here, pretty much up to expectation. We've been seeing a lot of these seers, a lot of these perfumers. What I do find interesting is that we've seen a consistency of mechanics, but this time around looks
Yes.
like from what QW brings to the table, they're much more comfortable with sticking to their guns here, not really needing to force out the mechanic. Instead, yeah, we don't know, at least from what has been broadcasted, because ladies and gentlemen, for those that have tuned in to our previous weekend, we were only able to broadcast some of the games, as a lot of the games that were happening kind of went simultaneous with the broadcast. So there's
Yep.
only so much that we can cover, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, this is from the broadcast recently. We will be seeing the Priestess as going to be used by QW. And, you know, we already much know that the Priestess is in an advantageous stage, especially in smaller maps due to her portals. And of course, she has now a global portal in her kit, which can help the survivors either escape or to actually. It's for good faster to actually go and be fast enough to decode ciphers in each, especially if your area is far from each other. And of course, the perfumer, we all know that this is a very well balanced character, because this perfumer specifically can actually help the survivors to, if for example she's the first one spotted by the hunter, she could help delay and buy time for the others to actually decode. And as usual, the coordinator, with the help of her flare of gun, can stun the hunter, of course, in a timely manner. And finally, for the seer, we've been seeing the seer, and Seer is actually an S tier character that can actually grant shield to either himself when kiting or to other allies that are kiting for them.
And I think with how this composition comes together, it's actually pretty interesting because with the survivors on hand, it definitely buys a lot of time, even, no matter how much Teslax commits to going for the chase. I think what'll be interesting here, additionally, is the fact that, okay, let's go ahead and talk about these picks here.
Yeah.
So with Perfumer, definitely should that hunter decide to go for that particular survivor, buys a lot of time, especially with the jukes that you get through her kit. And it's, let's say, if it really comes to a point where the perfume is starting to lose out on a bit of her fuel, of course you have that sear. So it
It's a good kit all
it
over.
buys a lot of time,
Mm.
and it just adds a whole nother it adds a whole nother element by the fact that you have a mechanic, which of course boosts your decode time. So you're really able to maximize what you can do on the survivor front. And I think with Ripper being brought to the table, I mean, the fact that you get those moments of speed boost through what Ripper's kit has in exchange whenever you throw out those foggy blades, then that helps, of course, with whatever lengths he needs to traverse in
Yes.
the midst of the chase. So I think it pretty much goes hand in hand at the end of the day.
Also, Ripper is actually a good hunter for the perfumer per se, because example, like what you said, the foggy blade
Mm.
is there. It gives like medium lengths
Mm.
to his range, but also the foggy blade can also help him to actually, let's say, injure the perfumer even
Mhm.
in an immersed state.
Yeah.
And when the perfumer goes back to her original state, the Ripper can actually go and counter it by actually hitting the original body. So it's quite efficient for him as well.
Yeah, it's great that you bring that up because to an extent it's not in most traditional hunter sense where he doesn't have to be at close
Yeah.
range to be able to land those hits in order to take down a survivor. So that definitely helps him in terms of just the general convenience
Hmm.
of the chase here. And just looking at the map, I think that'll definitely benefit him quite well.
Yes, and of course, again, going back to their draft here, we see that they have the coordinator, and the thing about coordinator is that it's not. It's not a priority ban,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's a good pick. Especially, it depends on the overall draft. And for QW, they don't have the mechanic,
Hmm.
so they actually opted to go for a a fundamental kind of pick here, where the perfumer and let's say, for example, the perfumer and the seer, as the way I see it,
Hmm.
that the perfumer and the seer can go in the code alongside with the priestess as well, and the coordinator can also have that the advantage to actually buy time.
Hmm.
And when this coordinator is in the rocket chair or seated in a rocket chair, it also is a good time actually to buy time for the allies, because the coordinator actually takes time before it actually skyrocket to the manor.
Mm.
And that's a good thing for the for what I can see here on their draft. And finally, for the priestess, like what I said, her global portal is actually beneficial for this specific draft, simply because they need the priority here for this draft is the Cypher Rush. Yes,
Mm.
since the majority of the draft is a well balanced kind of picks, the priestess is in a very good position here to narrow up the distance
Mm.
of each ciphers that each of the characters can go into.
Yeah, pretty good point there.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
nonetheless,
you.
with all said and done, I think it really comes down to how this will play out as we head into the game. Once again,
Mhm.
it is Breadbank on the Hunter side versus QW on the Survivor front. Let's go ahead and see. Looks like our Hunter here already going to be spotting out his first victim. Of course, it is going to be this Seer.
Yes, and take note, ladies and gents, this is going to happen in the Sacred Heart Hospital. And of course, Seer is already spotted, and the priority is to go into the best or the strongest area to kite with. And if it and one of it is in here into the mazes where the Seer can actually go, just turn around and kite as much as possible, uses the owl as a shield, but the Ripper wasn't able to hit him. But it's okay, because the Ripper doesn't have that animation and can still close in the gap to where the Seer is currently at.
Looks like, okay, going to be going around these walls here. I Can't Kite doing a great job here. His name is I Can't Kite,
But
but
he can kite
he's
pretty
pretty
well.
much kiting fairly well right now.
Ooh, but that was a very good normal hit by the Ripper over there, just trying to actually be tangible into the wall. And
Yeah.
I Can't Kite here is injured, but it's not gonna stop him yet, because he's utilizing all these pallets right here just so he can have buy time for the Hunter and for the allies to just go in the code, which is that main priority here.
Looks like Breadbank's Hunter going to be finally taking down those pallets. Doesn't want to really deal with all that terrain
Mhm.
here, but of course with all the time that I Can't Kite is buying just so much freedom for all the rest of the
Yes.
survivors to just start working on these ciphers. They're actually going down quite quickly.
Yes. They are already down to 2 ciphers and now 3 ciphers remaining, but we can see that the Seer did a pretty good job in kiting enough to actually get caught by the Hunter. But again, we can see that the Ripper is good at prioritizing its targets right here, and Seer is a very tricky target because once that Seer is already rocketed into that chair, there's no shield granted for the other survivors.
One thing I'd also like to highlight here is the fact that since Seer pretty much no more owls to utilize, so without those owls, definitely going to be a tricky order for him. Looks like they will be committing Katniss to try to go for the save. Of course, does have the gun for some form of crowd control should things get a little bit more dire. And there you go, going to be firing it off to try to hold down this Hunter, and off they go.
But this is also a very good job for the Hunter, just waiting at the right moment to actually go and hit those foggy blaze, which just happened a while ago with the coordinator, and was forced to use the flare gun. Just enough time to save the Seer there and to not go into the half health of that Seer into the rocket chair, just enough so that if ever he is rocketed chaired again, he still has a life or enough time in store. But the Seer here looking pretty good as he stuns the Ripper here. And again, the Seer is already injured, so his main priority is to kite here for the Hunter and for his allies to actually go into code. And this is one of the strongest areas of the map, which is the hospital itself, because look at the kiting potential that the Seer is currently doing.
Yeah, but there you go. One more hit and down he goes. But still, there's a lot that QW can work with here. There's only one survivor, or rather, not survivor, but Cypher rather, that remains. So as soon as I Can Kite hits that chair, I think they're going to want to time that pop correctly, just so that they can start making their way through the gates. They can still go for a 4-man escape here.
Yes, definitely. And this is what the Perfumer will be doing this time. Since the coordinator's injured, it's time for the Perfumer to shine here. And they will be waiting for this Perfumer to actually save this Seer and then pop the Cypher, which is the main priority of every team that are actually playing right here. And just sacrificing to get a hit, goes for the save, and eventually the Cypher will be popped up soon, just so that that borrowed time can actually be used for them.
Yeah, with that borrowed time, I mean, that full heal plus the dash speed is going to be monumental for QW once they get that last Cypher down. We don't really have the map to check out the status of how that's going, but it should be anytime soon. But ooh, I Can Kite strike 3, but there you go, Cypher will be popped, and off he goes.
That is actually a good strategy for the side of QW right here. You know, instead of popping the last Cypher the moment he was saved, it was a good choice that they sacrificed a hit first for that Ripper and then pop it up, just so they can utilize better their persona right there. And we can see the Priestess here on the shack gate, opening it up, and the Perfumer was able to actually go out on the other gate.
Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Of course, with this gate open, I Can Kite, of course, just needs to make his way. They can still go for the 4-man here. Of course, Ripper going to try his best to at least deny one survivor from escaping, and that will be the Seer that he will try to go for. I Can Kite, of course, still in this structure, will slowly try to eventually make an escape. There you go. That's the hit, and down he goes. Looks like this is going to be good, in which case for Teslax, with one survivor down, this at least grants him the opportunity to deny QW that full 5 points.
Yes. And that is a pretty good job for the Ripper, because there was a pretty small detail that I would like to point out here. When you just saw that the normal hit of Ripper a while ago, right? He was on top, and he purposely dropped down himself there. Why? Because the animation resets. And that is a good thing, a good strategy for most hunters right there. They actually use it to their potential.
And just like that.
It was a fast game.
It was very fast. I think you got to give kudos to that Seer as well, because he bought a lot of time. And I think the early game was just so quick for these survivors. I almost thought that we will be seeing the same trend that we saw during the first week, where a lot of these first rounds end up going to, pretty much sweep. So it looks like that will be denied. Great job for the Ripper, in which case patience is a virtue. And sometimes it will be rewarded. In this case, it's denying that extra incentive of a point. So it gives a lot more room for the opposition to, when they transition to the survivor front, at least
Yep.
try to go for that perfect five.
And of course, we saw that Bank still not gonna give up on that. I mean,
Hmm.
they denied that sweep, and they can actually potentially, create a sweep on their own because they will be the ones who's gonna be on their survivor side.
And we will just have to see how that will go.
Yes.
But still, nonetheless, I'm glad that we finally got that shake up there. And
Yeah.
you also have to note this is probably one of the faster games that we had, just
Mm.
because of how fast those ciphers down. It was unfortunate, of course, for the survivors that there was a necessary sacrifice in the form of Seer. But I mean, you take what you can.
Yeah. It's just a matter of like if you can't really get that sweep, it's better to have one survivor
Yeah.
sacrifice than actually go into a tie. And I mean, for me, that's actually better because you know that I don't know, like even if that was a fast-paced game, the Seer, I just really want to commend that Seer. He did a
Mm.
very good job transitioning to one location to another to kite that hunter away. But I would like to take note of that Ripper as well, utilizing the best way he can, landing those foggy blades in actually very good positions to delay the time to rescue that Seer a while ago. If you saw that the
Hmm.
perfumer was actually hit, right? And was forced to actually use to go back to his body just so that he could delay the time. But it's still too early to conclude
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
Breadbank still has this winning shot. You know, I'm just too
Yeah,
yeah.
it's one of those situations where it's not similar to the previous games that we casted,
Yes.
where it's just so hard when you're working against a scenario where in the first round you just give a full 5 points.
Mhm.
So at least just that one survivor. That's kind of the dream. If you can't equal out, I think one of the best case scenarios from the moment that they were able to pop all the ciphers
Mhm.
was to at least try to get those halves.
Yep.
But I mean that's already idealistic thinking.
Mm.
You at least want to get that one survivor.
Yeah.
So
It's like you have to get take everything that you can,
mm,
because
exactly.
like even though with this single like, for the side of Bread Bank, they managed to caught one and managed to get
Mm,
a point, right? It's still this 1 point can actually be their pacemaker.
mm.
It can change their overall game because once they have this clean sweep, they can still manage to win.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
At least by tournament format,
Yeah.
as
Hi
with how
guys.
this thing goes down. So we're just waiting to see how things will
I'd
pan
like to
out
see the
heading
draft.
into the next game. Yeah, definitely would like to see that draft. But of course, to those of you that are watching, once again, we'd like to welcome you all to the Identity 5 North American European Summer Tournament.
Yes.
Great platform that we have right here. Once again, I think. As we mentioned during the previous weekend, this is a great opportunity for all our competitive teams in both North America as well as Europe to have this grounds to. I mean, of course, when you join a tournament, you want to win, but it's also great practice as well in
Mhm.
preparation for the bigger things that are going to be happening as the seasons go along. Of course, the biggest platform that
Yes.
you'd want to reach is Call of the Abyss.
Yeah.
And for those of you that tune into competitive, there's a lot of great teams out there. Of
Yes.
course, China, some of the not even some, like they have the best teams in
Yeah.
the world right now because of how crazy their esports for Identity 5 is. Of course, when we were in Shanghai, like the crowd, ooh,
So full house. It's like
it's like
full house.
watching a concert. You know
Oh
those
yeah.
when you watch one of those idol concerts
Mhm.
with the
Their
banners and
banners, yes.
everything. But you know what? We are going to be heading into the draft as you were hoping for
Ooh.
already, Ciora.
Yes, and looks like QW will be the hunter side here, and they will be using the Soul Weaver here. And for Bread Bank, they will be having the Priestess, the Mechanic, the Coordinator, and finally the Mercenary. A change of pace for the drafting, similar though with the other two, like what like what QW used a while
Yes,
ago. Sorry. And this is actually pretty good because they have the mechanic to actually increase the decoding speed of each members by 5%.
definitely.
And the mercenary here will be the main rescuer because he can actually hit. He has like he can absorb 2 hits at a time and has this delayed hit effect, which can be very efficient for rescuing. And the coordinator once again, once timely used, the flare gun is a very good threat against the hunter. And finally, the priestess. I've already told you guys what the priestess can do, and this is actually good for both teams because they're using the priestess into its maximum potential, and this is the if I'm not mistaken, we are still in the same map, right? Which is the hospital.
Mm.
So the priestess here has a very, very good portal use, especially on the hospital side itself.
Hmm. And looking at the survivors that were chosen here,
Hmm.
I think with the past rounds that we've been casting not just today but even last weekend, we already start to get a feel of what is up in preference for
Hmm.
both NA and EU. Earlier, half of we're pretty much seeing almost the same elements. Of course, the difference of the shakeup here is that earlier we saw Perfumer and Seer, of course, with what Breakbank leans towards as far as preference in survivor picks. We're gonna see the mechanic, of course, mechanic very, very high up there because of just how much time
Yes.
you're able to save up in the process of getting those ciphers, leaving a lot more options with what you want to leave already processed.
Yep.
And the other shakeup here is the Mercenary, which as well is very much high up in what we've been seeing in picks.
Yes, but you have to take note here on the hunter side that the Soul Weaver has cobwebs that can increase her movement speed once she passes through them, and for the side of survivors, it can actually slow them down.
Mm.
And the Soul Weaver is very, very advantageous onto smaller maps and in the mazes as well, because this can help her trap the survivors and to actually lessen the options for kiting.
Yes, but of course, at the end of the day, we'll just have to see how things will go down. Win condition right now here for the
Ooh.
survivors is to get all 5 people out just so that they don't have to face that tiebreaker. And looks like already finding a target right
Yes.
here. The hunter for QW will be on the case of our mechanic here, and not a bad way to go, in fact. By trying to go for this particular survivor, you
Mhm.
leave less room for this mechanic to utilize her puppets.
Yes, and actually, this is, of course, since the mechanic is already first to be seen by the Soul Weaver, the best thing that the others can do is to actually go and decode on behalf of the mechanic. And here we can see that good that was a good strategy for the mechanic because he tried to actually body block it with the use of the robot. And ooh, looks like
Oh,
we're seeing an enchanter. Maybe I think it's in a different.
okay, there we go.
Well, yeah, there it actually moves. Maybe there was a connection issue or something. But okay, again, going back, the Soul Weaver uses the cobwebs for movement speed, and again, with the help of that, goes near to the hitbox, and eventually the enchantress here will be seated on the rocket chair.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate right there. Looks like from what we're seeing, in which case,
Mm, hmm.
okay, so yeah, by correction,
Yeah.
we saw, in case you guys were wondering, by the drafting, a little bit of a correction. It is the enchantress that we will be seeing fielded here for this game.
Yes, instead of the priestess, which is, objectively, the enchantress is pretty neat once used timely with the stuns because this.
Okay, so since we had a little bit of a problem there, looks like we will be resetting the game.
Yes, because initially, while with Shona on the draft, like what we said, it was supposed to be a priestess.
No, I think it was. I think we're going for a reset because
Okay.
of the. I think because of the connection.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because we just saw that the enchantress was,
Or-
wasn't able to move.
Yeah, or we'll
It-
find out in due
Yeah,
time.
it's
exactly.
either that or they would replace it with the priestess. It actually depends, but nonetheless, we will be having a reset, guys. So you just have to wait there and be with us. And can I
Mhm.
have your
No.
Aw, guys. For
No.
those who are watching the stream, let's form a club. The Steal the Naive plushie away from
Ugh.
Articuno Club. Yes.
My one and only
Thank you.
souvenir from Shanghai, and you're gonna take it away from me.
Come on. Maybe it's like borrowed. I would return it to you, sometime.
I do not. Do you guys do you trust her?
Sometime, right, guys? They are with me because we recently, formed a club, the Get the Naive Plushie Club. Thank you.
Population 1,
No.
which is just you.
Oh no. There's more to than just me.
Mm,
Right, guys? Come on, support
your
me here.
imaginary friends.
No, come on, guys, support me, support me. But anyway, thank you, Articuno. Thank you.
You may leave the caster desk
No.
now. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, going back, but like what we kept on saying earlier onto the drafting phase, the Soul Weaver, like what you just saw
Mm.
before the reset actually happens, utilizes the small spaces by putting on some cobwebs to narrow down again the survivors' choice when it comes to kiting,
Mm.
and that's really like an initial strategy for any survivor out there to actually go in an endless loophole. And the Soul Weaver is doing a pretty darn good job to actually deny that loophole
Oh,
kiting
definitely.
with the help
And
of the cobwebs.
I'm really interested in seeing though, because we're still trying to check out what why we're gonna be seeing a reset here.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of figuring out if it is a connectivity issue
Yeah.
or was it. I think it might be. It might lean towards much more the connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
since we did see the Enchantress kind of go halt earlier,
Yep.
which of course is a bit it's
It's an issue.
uncharacteristic
Yeah.
because she has, I mean, Enchantress crowd control, so
I'm
lost the plot
sorry.
there. But okay, while we let CR take care of her I'm gonna give you about like a week of an adopted son before I get custody once again of Naib. We will be taking a short break just to check out how things are ironing out between the teams that are
Yes.
currently in our match right
Yeah.
now. So we're gonna be checking that out.
We'll just tell you guys what
Yeah,
happened.
we'll be updating y'all
afterwards.
in a bit, so just stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Get a little bit of a snack. If you need a toilet break as well, feel free. We have been your casters. I'm Mark Takuno,
And I'm Sierra.
and this is the Identity 5 North America and European Summer Tournament. We'll catch you guys in a teeny tiny bit.
Teeny tiny.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Identity 5 North American European Summer Tournament. We are your casters. I'm Mark Takuno.
And I'm Sayora.
So, we just came back from a short break in order to check out what the...
What was going on?
Yeah, what exactly was going on in the neighborhood. But from what we confirmed, we have to do a reset of the game because there was a connection issue. So it did reflect in game once we had the
Yes.
Enchantress at a complete halt earlier when she wasn't able to respond to the presence
Yes.
of the Hunter. So by rule set, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understood, so long as no hits from the Hunter have come in just yet, we could push for that reset.
Yes.
So it's still within reasonable grounds here
Yep.
for this game. So I believe we will be sticking to the same picks though.
Yes. Game. I mean, every match is not fun when the connection is like always an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's based on personal experience. Like the connection always ruins the fun. Well, in my opinion, because
I mean, of course.
yeah, like you,
I mean, imagine like you're playing and like, oh, I disconnected. How fun.
it's not fun.
Yes.
It's not fun, and we're all here to witness some action, and
That's yeah.
the connection ruins that, And then going back, guys. So
Yep.
I think it's going to be like an enchantress, right? Not a priestess,
Mm.
because I think there's just something wrong with the photo.
No, just
on
a wrong flash of the graphic.
Yeah.
But it is Enchantress that we will be seeing.
Yes, and yes, again to Naive. We will be seeing Naive later.
Mm-hmm. Just
And-
not that skin.
Yeah, but still Naive.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
This is mine now. Thanks.
Off the caster list now.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, going back to the draft a while ago, since they would be still using the same one, right?
Yes.
And since Enchantress is already in play, Enchantress is a very, very good survivor for the mid to late phases of the game, simply because she can delay any pickup from, especially when the Hunter goes for the balloon to pick up there.
Okay.
And yeah,
Looks like we hear some heartbeats. My heart beats.
My heart
for this Hunter.
Doki Doki
Oh my
Kokoro.
God.
Anyway, going back, looks like the Soul Weaver did a very good job enduring this mechanic on the very early phases of the game, and Mechanic just using this area to kite away from the Soul Weaver. Excellent job in throwing that pallet down and the robot for that body block, but the Soul Weaver will actually, prioritize on the Mechanic itself.
Okay, so the Hunter. I was thinking that he would, if he was gonna take down the puppet, but looks like we'll just instead return to pursuing Future here instead. As we were saying earlier, not a bad way to go. Just so that Future is.
Ooh.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
A very good sudden turn for that, to reach the hitbox there for that terror shock. And the Mechanic has a kind of a slow vaulting speed, so it's a good thing that the Soul Weaver actually utilizes that and goes for that range. But at the same time, it's a good job for the Mechanic on keeping up to kite and delay as much time as possible. But this is looking good for the Mercenary, and like what you said, this is the same skin.
Oh,
and rescues
okay.
and rescues the Mechanic. Body
Yeah.
blocking. Look, they're just taking their turns to actually vault there. Pretty good. And again, since the Mechanic is injured and the Mercenary here is doing a pretty well job again to body block the Mechanic, and Mechanic being aware of this will be going to the strongest area of the map, which is the hospital, to kite away, since this is a good opportunity for the Mechanic to keep on kiting, delaying the time, buying time for the members. Oh, that was a good web throw for the Soul Weaver here, taking advantage of that pallet that the Mechanic did just now.
Yeah, Future was estimating that the spider was already on his trail. Lo and behold, was actually caught out right there. Spider, just patience, not going into that room, actually just spotting out where Future was going there, and didn't quite work out there in the end. Looks like we'll be dropping those puppets as well, but there you go, the save once again coming in from the coordinator, and off they go.
Yes, and again, the coordinator body blocking the mechanic over here and uses the flare gun to buy time, but with the help of the excitement though, the flare gun's effect won't be utilized as much as possible. But again, this is a good time to buy time for the mechanic to escape, because once this mechanic is rocket cheered, it's going to be skyrocketed into the manor. And for now, we can see that the coordinator is just standing by for another potential body block, because the Soul Weaver is going to prioritize on targeting this mechanic.
Yes. Looks like really hellbent and intent on pursuing future here. Of course, they will be trying to juggle that aggro
Yes.
coming in from the spider.
And again, movement speed for the cobwebs here that can help the Soul Weaver. And of course, you know, the Soul Weaver is very aware that this is a good kiting area. And the best way to actually narrow down the options is to destroy as much pallets as possible. But the coordinator here is doing a pretty good job just body blocking again the mechanic here, while the mechanic just tries his very best to actually go away from the Soul Weaver. Meanwhile, again, for the other members of the survivors, though, one remaining cipher is at stake here.
Yeah, this is a very frustrating structure that Spider is working against. But there you go, Future will be going down once again. But take not only one cipher. Red Bank has done a lot of work on making sure that these ciphers are ready to pop here. So I think it's only a matter of time, which case Mechanic has been strapped to that rocket chair. Unfortunately, it is strike 3, and he is out of the game. So
Yes.
far, so good here
And
for QW.
yeah, and if you saw behind the Soul Weaver while he was ballooning to put that mechanic on a rocket chair, it was a good attempt for the Enchantress to actually try to stun. Unfortunately, he wasn't into the range to actually do it. And this time, eyes on the prize, the Soul Weaver is now targeting the Mercenary here. But with the help of the delayed hit effect, he manages to escape and use his elbow pads to further the gap between the Hunter and, of course, the Mercenary. But the Soul Weaver here doing a pretty good job catching up to him.
Time is ticking. So let's go ahead and talk about the circumstance here, ladies and gentlemen. So since Mechanic is already down, what the survivors want to pull off is to make sure that all 3 of these survivors remain. Let's go ahead and check out how decoding is going. Looks like it is halfway through with that
Yes.
accelerated decoding. It is going up to speed, but from what QW's Hunter is doing, will bring him all the way down.
Basement party is coming, ladies and gents. But you know, this is not going to stop the other members of Red Bank here, because they will prime this cipher. And I think the Enchantress here, from the way I see it, will be targeting and rescuing the Mercenary into the basement, since the Mercenary also takes time before reaching that half countdown here. And that is what the Enchantress is trying to do here.
Oh.
Oh, that was a good attempt to actually get the Enchantress. Sacrifices to get that hit just to save this Mercenary. Teleports into the basement just so to actually close in the gap, and
Yes.
now takes another hit, but with the help of that popped remaining cipher, the borrowed time is now triggered.
Yes, and of course the Spider, in order to make sure that QW doesn't end up in a tiebreaker, he has to get at least one more survivor question. Can
Yes.
he, though? G298 is going to be the choice once again for the Spider. Of course, already a lot dealt here, so just needs that one hit.
Ooh,
Ballot
that
will
was-
be going down to buy more time for that escape.
That was a close call. And you know, the coordinator and Enchantress here utilizing, you know, because they already know that the teleport is on cooldown. So the best option here is that the Mercenary would either buy time or can actually go to safety, because the gate is near, but with that hitbox, it reached the Mercenary in time, and that is going for a tie.
I think in this case, with 2 survivors down, this will be a victory for QW with a total of 5 points under their belt. 5-3. 5-3, yes.
Yeah,
5-3.
5-3. And that was a very tight game, you know? I mean, you know, I'm at loss for words there, because it was a very near fight. The Mercenary was actually near the area of the exit gate. It's just that the hitbox or the range of the Spider was close enough
Yeah.
to actually hit him and go for the knockdown.
Projectile's really making its work there for
But
the
good
Spider.
job,
In
Dave.
which case, and additionally, it's unfortunate because, like we mentioned, the win condition at that point, since one survivor was already down, is all 3 needed to make it out.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have seen some extra measure to make
Yes.
sure that the mercenary was kept alive. But there's only so much that you can do, and
Yeah.
you got to give kudos to both these teams for still playing their heart out. Of course, it will be QW that'll be a little bit more happier as they
Yes.
will be transitioning to the next stage of this tournament.
Yes, but the fact that they are actually here, competing with with their fellow, clanmates and their other clans, just fight here. It's amazing because they're top players, and they're pro players at that. And when I enter that, I don't think I could survive.
Yeah,
For
there's a reason why we're
we're just
on the desk
MCs.
and not the ones playing in this tournament, and it has nothing to do with the fact that we're not from the we do. What region do you play on, by the way, in case
I'm in the
people
Asian server.
same here,
Yeah.
yeah, same. I like to switch over to NAEU
The
sometimes.
connection is just not in favor.
Yeah, the odds are not in our favor since we're based in Asia, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if you spot us, feel free to
Play with us.
use us as the sacrificial lamb
Yes.
in your games. If
Yes.
we're on the
That's our
survivors.
main role.
If you're the
as a-
hunter, if we're the hunters, then pretty much a free win for you guys.
yeah, definitely. So you just have to watch out for our IGNs
Yep.
in game.
Yep, in case. But ladies and gents, that has been our first game of the day. When we come back, we still have one more to go here at the Identity 5 NAEU Summer Tournament.
Yes.
We've been your casters. I'm Mark Takuno.
And I'm Sayora.
We will catch you guys in a bit for all the more action here for Identity 5.
Bye.
And welcome back to the Identity 5 North American Europe Summer Tournament. We are your casters. I'm Artiku.
And I'm Sayora.
Yeah, say,
Sayora,
you know, have to put that little spice into your
Yes, in the
introduction.
fettuccine.
Yes.
Just kidding. But yeah. How are you?
I'm okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
let's
good.
go ahead and talk about our upcoming match. So we just got some news. Sorry for a bit of the delay there, guys. I
Yeah.
know.
The soon took too long.
Yeah, it wasn't as soon as you expected, but with good reason.
Oh.
So we just found out that for our next match, unfortunately, Aesthetic GG, couldn't really get a feel of them in the process of preparing for this next match. So according to our organizers, since we couldn't get them in
Yeah.
by the
By
time that we
default.
needed them, unfortunately, we will have to count them out and
Yeah.
effectively push the win towards their competitor, which is
Pigs.
Team Pigs.
Yes.
So congratulations to Pigs, in which case who will, if I'm not mistaken, be proceeding to the quarterfinals of our
Yep.
tournament. And speaking of our tournament, by the way, so
Yeah.
let's go ahead and update our audience as well on what to expect over the next weekends. So
Mhm.
we're currently in our top 16 phase.
Yeah.
So we're whittling it down to what will happen as our quarterfinals very,
Mhm.
very soon.
Very, very soon.
So for this weekend, of course, it will be myself as well as Siora who will be casting with you. And then come the next weekend where things get really, really intense. Because take note, guys, as this tournament goes along, of course, single elimination format, we whittle down the teams. And of course, usually the best of the best remain. Whoever lasts longer, has pretty much proven just how strong they are within the esports scene for Identity 5. And, of course, with the intensity of that, unfortunately, we will be saying farewell to Siora. Bye. Nice knowing you. No, just kidding.
You actually want me out of here. But yeah,
Out. No.
unfortunately, guys,
Mm.
I won't be able to be the MC for the quarterfinals. But Articuno here is gonna be one of the MCs.
Yeah, if you're getting tired of me right now, well, too bad. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
But
you gotta get tired of him again
yes,
the
you're
next
going to get all the
week.
more tired next weekend. But very exciting, though, because
Hmm?
come next weekend, we have my brothers from Call of the Abyss 2 Global Finals
Ooh.
coming back. Of course, we will be having
Persuadable.
yes. And who's the other dude that we're going to be having?
I heard that you guys are having the #1 IDV YouTuber, and that's none other than Gaming Grizzly.
Yes, by quote to in
Quote
the comment
unquote.
section,
Yeah.
exert his
Importance and
Yes.
dominance to the world.
We see you, Grizzly. We see
see
you
ya.
in that chat right there.
Of course. I kind of was browsing during the
Yeah.
break, and he was like, "Yeah, I should really put that title on my intro to
Yeah.
assert my dominance and importance."
The others aren't going to be happy about that, but you've heard it here, folks. We're making it
Yeah.
official. No,
Quote unquote.
we love you, Grizzly. We love you.
Yes.
And of course, to all our content creators out there, especially you like to watch a lot of the
Yes.
Identity 5 content creators out
Yes,
there.
I saw also streamers and players
Yeah.
there. We have AO Doc there. Hello. Also, Call Me Duty is there as well, and the others too were there. But I think it's either they're currently studying still,
Yeah.
or
You're currently studying as
yes,
well.
I'm still
Mhm.
currently studying as well.
I'm studying life in general.
That's just in a whole level,
Yeah, that's like a-
deepness, you know?
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah, aren't we all?
But you know what, ladies and gents, since we don't have a match, unfortunately, we have reached the end of our broadcast.
Yes.
But don't worry, we'll be coming back tomorrow for more Identity 5 action. And like we
Yep.
mentioned, this isn't the last week, and we still have one more where Persuadable as well as Grizzly will be joining us.
Yep, and don't
very
forget my
exciting.
autograph. And yes, I have a present for them, so you guys are the witness. I'm entrusting Articuno
Yes.
to give my presents to them.
Sayora bought something for Grizzly and Persuadable. And we'll try
Yes.
to show it on stream next weekend just so that you guys can see what exactly she bought. It is the most meme gift ever.
What?
But it makes it interesting
Yes,
and memorable.
because that gift is really known in our country, which is the Philippines. So I'm entrusting you to give it to them since
I mean, as somebody that hails from Massachusetts, I mean, we don't really have that either. So
Yes. It's
Yeah,
something new.
It's
Yeah.
something, yeah, maybe,
For them.
maybe that. I'm pretty sure it'll. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything anymore. Yeah, if you guys want to find out, you'll have to tune in next weekend once we have the
Yes.
two over here from we are broadcasting. But yeah, we're gonna have to say our farewells for now, Siora. It's
Yep.
a great weekend that we're gonna be having here.
Mhm.
More Identity 5 action tomorrow, so we will be saying our farewells for now. I'm Articuno.
And I'm Sayora.
And we will be catching you again tomorrow for more Identity 5 action. But for the
Yes.
meantime, we will be signing off right here at the Identity 5 North America and European Summer
Yes.
Tournament. Catch you all tomorrow again.
Woo! Peace out. Pew pew pew. Pew pew.